Germany can learn from global trends in brand, measurement, and online marketing. Please welcome Geoff Ramsey.
Guten Morgen. Okay, that's about all the German I have. I'm going to keep myself honest because Carl threatens to bump me off this stage if I go too long. Alright, so I'm going to push this on my iPhone as a handy little thing for that. It's a nice little application there. If we could have, oh, it's already up there. Isn't that fantastic? I have a confession and a warning. The confession is that normally every single day, at least in my adult life, I drink 3 cups of coffee. And this morning was no exception. Eins, zwei, drei. The only problem is, this morning I had coffee here. What do you put in that espresso? Oh my goodness, my heart was pounding by the time I got here. So, that's actually good news for you. Because the warning is that I'm about to go through more information in the next 30 minutes, and that's what I have, and I'm going to keep myself very close to that. I have more information than can be humanly digested. And for that reason, I don't want you to try to take notes. I know I'm speaking in English, so simply sit back, get the idea of what I'm saying, and if you would like a copy of all of the data and information that I'm going to present to you, I will be happy to send it to you electronically by email or however you want it, and you'll see my email address at the end, and we'll have ways for you to get that information. So, let's begin. Hopefully this works. eMarketer is the company that I run, and basically what we do, just to give a quick top line on this, is we aggregate, filter, and organize and analyze information from 4,000 different sources looking at online marketing. Is anybody interested in online marketing? Just check. All right, good. I'm in the right place. So we provide that kind of 30,000-foot view. So what I'm going to try to do today in the next 28 minutes is look at this whole environment that we're working in online media. There's a lot of questions and there's a lot of darkness, and we're kind of trying to figure out what's really happening, what are the bright spots, what are the trends that you need to pay attention to. And so that's what we're going to look at today. We'll start with media spending. Okay? So, Martin Sorrell said, this continuing overall improvement is most welcome. Well, yeah, of course it is. So let's look at the numbers. David already top-lined some of the numbers. This is aggregated based on looking at a whole bunch of different sources. This is eMarketer's take on total advertising spending growth. Television, radio, print, indoor, outdoor, internet, everything thrown in together. These are the growth rates. As you see, 2009 was a year we, as David said, we want to forget. 2010 looks much better. We start to see positive growth, including in Germany, which didn't suffer as badly as the other parts of the world. But it's growing about 5% in total media spending in 2011. Also positive growth. Could be higher. This is fairly conservative here. These are other numbers from other researchers. You see that there's a whole bunch of different ideas about how fast Germany really grew in 2010. Okay, but you might be wondering, okay, Geoff, this is a digital conference. So where's the digital stuff? So let's get to that. What we see in every major market around the world, developed countries or third world countries, is that you have online versus offline globally, right? Even in the worst of the recession, when offline went down 10%, online went up 2%. Okay? In Germany, when it went down 9%, online went up 5%. The U.S. had a 16% decline in advertising revenue in 2009. But they suffered only a 3% drop in internet. It's about the only market that went down for internet. Okay? So, let's take a look at 2010, a much better year. We just finished it, right? And what we see is that online is growing about 2 to 3 times faster than offline. Okay? So that's basically the trend. And if we look at Germany specifically, 5% growth in 2009, followed by 10%. These are conservative numbers, about 8 to 9% we're looking over the next couple of years for online growth in Germany. Here's a bunch of other numbers for 2010, and as you can see, the range is from 1% to 13%. It's a little strange to see Carrot Insights saying 1% growth for digital. I mean, we recommend a book for them. I hope you get that. All right. Another way to look at this comparatively is to understand what internet ad spending is per internet user. to give you a kind of a relative understanding of that market. The UK is the world's leader at €96 per internet user spent on online advertising, followed by the US, followed by Germany. Give yourselves a round of applause. Come on. Oh, okay. No one. You guys are a tough crowd. Canada, which is where I'm from, is trumped by Germany, and you'll be very excited to know that you beat France. Yes. All right. That should appreciate it. Online advertising spending worldwide, very briefly, is going from 13% of all media to 18% of all media in 2014. And by the way, in the U.S., online has eclipsed newspapers. That happened about last year. So, where we're headed, this is the important concept, is a 50-50 world where half of all dollars, according to Laura Desmond, go to digital and interactive campaigns. Steve Ballmer of Microsoft was even more dramatic when he said, over time, all ad money will go through the digital platform. This reminds me of a very famous economist who said, John Maynard Keynes said, in the long run, we're all dead. Just a healthy dose of perspective, right? Okay, David had 5 trends. I only have time for 4, so let's see what we can get through. One of the key things is if you look at data, global marketers, 33% said they feel minimally prepared to deal with digital techniques and social media, and particularly with social media. They're confounded. Basically, global marketers are like schizophrenic. On the one hand, they say, it's critical or important to my business for me to compete. Right? On the other hand, it's overrated. Come on. Social media is not taking over the world. Right? So we're conflicted. This is a percent of U.S. companies. By the way, the U.S. is the leader in terms of market penetration of social media and spending on social media. Right? And what we see is, roughly looking at all the data, we cut through all the different numbers and so on. We say about 70% of marketers in the U.S. are doing social media advertising. Okay? Worldwide, the figure is about 70%. Okay? You have to be careful about what the definitions are. And even in Germany, we have data that says about 70% of media professionals say that their company is doing some form of social media. Okay? The question is, what do we call the 30% of marketers who aren't doing social media? There's a term for this. You wait for it. Antisocial. They get that in America. That was percent of marketers saying that their ability to measure return on investment for various media channels. Okay, very interesting for me, consultancy. Paid search, right up there. Yes, we can measure paid search. Email marketing, very high. Online display, not too bad, 37%. That beats TV and newspapers. But towards the bottom is social media at 19%. In fact, under 1/5 of U.S. and global firms say that they can measure the direct return on investment on their social media investments. Okay? So this is a problem. But on the other hand, this whole social media thing is huge. Right? 580 million to be exact. You said 600, but we like to be precise in eMarketers. 580 million, which is 8 times the size of Germany. Okay? If Facebook was a country. Thankfully it's not. So let's go to my Facebook page. I hope you will all be friends with me. And I'm hoping you can help me with a little problem. Can anyone help me with my privacy settings? Okay, that was a joke. There's more copy later. I don't think you could bring it in here, but maybe you need more copies. Okay, I was just kidding. I don't really have that on my Facebook page. But I do have this on my page, which is a series of ads. And I don't normally pay attention to ads on my Facebook page because I'm too busy communicating and posting and checking people's statuses. Right? But when I look at them, I'm amazed sometimes, like you, David, at the degree of targeting. Yes, I am a CEO. How did they know that? Okay, it says it in my profile. Okay, I can understand that. I got a little concerned, however. How did they know this? And do you know that after this ad appeared, this is a true story, I received an email through Facebook. And it was from a hair surgeon offering his services for hair transplant. I have yet to get back to him. But that is the power of targeting. Okay, enough about that. What's on my mind is, what percent of internet users are going to social sites. It depends on which country you're in, but as you can see, Brazil is up at the top at 69%, followed by Canada, the US, UK. Germany's relatively light on social media participation among consumers at only 41%. If you don't believe our number, that's our number. You see there's a bunch of other numbers, but by triangulating the data and looking at the different definitions and methodologies, we've determined that about 41% of Germans are actively going to social media sites. Okay? Among those younger folks, the figure is 80%. So if you're targeting younger people, it's a mistake not to reach them through social media. Is anybody on Twitter? Few of you. Is anybody Twittering right now? Good. I'm not in trouble then. All right. According to the data we've looked at, about 6% of internet users are doing tweeting or are going to Twitter and posting tweets. Interesting stat, though. 10% of all Twitter users account for 90% of Twitter volume. Apparently, these people like to hear themselves speak. And in fact, looking at tweets worldwide by content category, the number one thing, if you can't read that, let me explain. You can't make this stuff up. This is real research. Right? 1/5 of those with a Twitter account have never posted a single tweet. And my favorite, most users only send one tweet per lifetime. In other words, I tweet, I'm done with that. Now it's time to move on with my life. What's the next thing? Right? Okay. So what am I doing right now? Just for you Twitter users, I'm making fun of Twitter. On Twitter. Okay. 83% of global marketers are upping their social media ad spend. 83% of global marketers saying, yes, we're spending more on social media. You're probably wondering in the audience, what's the base? What are we talking about here? We go to this guy who says the answer to global social media ad spending is $3.5 billion. Now that sounds like a lot of money. In fact, Facebook owns over half of that. Over half of social media dollars. But total social media spending is only 5.6%, less than 6% of total global advertising spending. And by the year 2012, it does approach 10%, so we need to start paying attention by 2012. But the point is really made by this gentleman from Ford in marketing. He says, we spend the majority of time engaging with these people on these networks, not advertising on them. Okay? So it's less about buying social media, as we've heard before, it's more about owning it and earning it. And we'll explain more about that in a minute. The most important concept here is that it's all a matter of trust. Why are we spending so much time and attention focusing on social media? It's because consumers trust each other more than they do you, the marketer. We need to get over this idea that all of our ads are believable and they trust everything that we say. They don't. But I'm here to tell you, based on a ton of research globally and in every country that we can look at, that there is a hierarchy of trusted sources that you need to pay careful attention to. Number one on the list, as we should not be surprised, is friends and family. We trust each other more than anybody else. Okay? Number two is editorial content. Traditional, television, newspapers, magazines, and so on. We trust that content. And when I say friends and family, I am talking about close, personal, real relationships with face-to-face communications or on the phone, right? As opposed to number three on the list, way down on the list, is friends on social media. Because we all know maybe we have 150 or 200 or 1,000 friends. Are we really that close with all 1,000? I don't think so. And that's why we have to be careful. The trust levels are highest among those people, the 10 or so people that we are most connected with in our lives. Okay? But beyond that, we need to keep in mind that the number one reason to pay attention to social media is this. If you think about the world out there and you throw a rock, let's call that marketing, into the pond, there are ripple effects, there are implications. People's attitudes might change. You throw a rock in there, you want to be able to measure that. And social media is a way for you to measure how people are perceiving your ad campaign, how they're perceiving your product versus your competitors. So it's an opportunity to listen to what they have to say and apply that listening to your advertising and maybe even to change your product or your customer service based on what customers are telling you every single day. Another strategy with social media, of course, is to look at your core. If you are lucky enough as a brand to have a bunch of core enthusiasts, loyal brand enthusiasts, who so much love your brand, they use it all the time and they want to tell everybody about it. This is a really good thing. And what you want to do is remember that these are the owners of your brand. They own who you are and how you're perceived, right? And so you want to cultivate them carefully. When I say carefully, I mean, isn't PowerPoint wonderful? You want to make sure that you are rewarding them, giving them coupons, incentives, early versions of products to try. You want to be paying attention to them. And if you do that, they will love you more and grow. And they will tell others, and that will build your core. So that's the most important thing with social media. One way to reward them, of course, is to create fan pages. An area where they, like Coke, has 16 million people who fan or like Coca-Cola, it's an opportunity for them to identify with your brand. And there's research that shows that when people do fan you or like you or what have you, that they actually are more likely to buy your product and they're more likely to recommend you to others. Same information comes from Twitter, a separate study. They're more likely to buy and more likely to recommend. Okay? They want to be internally consistent by saying, yes, I like you, by being on your profile page or setting up their own fan page. They are identifying with you, and therefore they're more likely to buy from you and more likely to tell others. So you might be wondering now, enough about social media, Geoff. How about online video? Is anybody doing online video here yet? Okay, about 22.6%. Another big one. All right, so engaged with online video, about 60% of marketers are using it, and about 60% of internet users worldwide. Germany's a little lower than that figure. But most of what we're doing today is digital snacking. We watch a couple of minutes here, we watch maybe a little snippet from a movie trailer, or we'll watch a couple of minutes on a major content site, but we're not spending a lot of time with it. That's beginning to change with companies like Hulu. I'm not sure if you've heard of this in the US, but you're going to see it all over the world, which is TV content and movies, full-length TV content movies that you can watch anytime you want. Okay? I love Hulu. In fact, I don't know if you've ever heard of this show, Bewitched. It was on in the 60s when I was a kid. Watching this show, I fell in love with the heroine, Samantha Stevens. And I so fell in love with her, I decided when I grew up, I was 12 at the time, when I grew up I was going to marry her. And I figured the only way I could do that was to become him, Aaron Stevens, who was an advertising executive in the show. And I pined after her, and I literally became an account executive, and I worked for 17 years in the ad business. And I have the marks on my back to prove it. And I never found it. And then finally, and I think about after 15 years in the business, I found my wife, and she's wonderful and beautiful, just like this one here. So it's a nice story to end that. Back to the statistics. 33% of internet users in the US are watching TV, full-length TV shows and movies, okay, through their internet connections. If we look at other countries, we see that UK and France are ahead, and Germany is a little behind at about 22%. Watch, these numbers are going to change quickly, because broadband video has the potential, it's not quite there yet, but it has the potential for greater measurability than television, better targetability, you can target just the right people you want to reach, shareability, because if you see an online video ad and you like it, you can share it with your friends, and better engageability. In fact, there's a ton of research that says that people watching online video pay far more attention to the ads. There's a number of reasons for that, but we can talk about that later. But you also get the emotion of television. Okay? That's something that's been missing from a banner ad. So pay very close attention to video advertising. You get that emotional effect. In Germany, the market is very underdeveloped. It's only about 3.6% of total online ad spending, whereas in the world it's closer to 7%. The US is right up there, 7%. But the growth rate worldwide is huge and cannot be ignored. 50, 40, 50, 60% growth in every market that we look at, every developed market. Okay? Online video, there's three basic strategies. There's paid media. You can place ads on YouTube and various other places to put your advertising. It's just like the paid model with television advertising. Then there's owned media, which is creating your own branded digital content. Right? And you can place it on your company website or on YouTube. And these can be things like instructional how-to videos, right? It can help the consumer understand how to use the product or what have you. It could be customer testimonials that emotionally convey their passion for your brand. Or it could be entertaining or funny videos. The key is that they're not hardcore pushing your product. They're reflecting your brand, and they're compelling and interesting in and of themselves. And then the final thing is, if you do a really good job of number 2, people will pass that information or that content along to others. And so that's the earned media component. You might have heard of the Old Spice campaign. I'm not going to beat this with a dead horse, but this went all over YouTube and social media because everybody loved this campaign. It was very funny and very engaging. And they had fantastic results as a result of that. So that brings us on to mobile, because we only have a few minutes left. So everybody almost here probably has a mobile phone. I can guess that, right? Here's an interesting stat. There are 6.8 billion people on this planet today. Okay? 1.6 billion PC users. Okay? But 4.7, just a little higher here, 4.7 mobile users. Actually, there's one source that says that that figure for mobile users worldwide is actually 6.79999. But that source is my teenage daughter, who says she's the only person on the planet without a cell phone. It's a true story. Maybe she'll get it this year. Okay, mobile ad spending worldwide. All the numbers are kind of crazy, the different research. Why can't they agree? Can we just put all the researchers in a single room and say, okay, figure it out. Give us one number. But no, we get this. So they're all over the place. What you see, though, I'm from Canada, so hockey stick growth no matter how you look at it, right? It's going up. Big surprise. And as a report says, the latest report we have on mobile marketing, there are 3 reasons to believe that mobile is at a tipping point. To your point, when's it going to be big, right? The tipping point, we'll get to the 3 Ps now, is this. One is the players, and you talked about this. No longer is it just the mobile carriers out there, right, who are dealing with mobile and who we have to interact with. We now have a nuclear arms race between 2 people. Steve Jobs of Apple, went too fast, and Eric Schmidt of Google. These are the innovators. These are the smart people who are figuring out how advertising is going to work on mobile. And speaking of smart, then there's smartphones. Smartphones make all the difference because you can have internet, you can have search, and unfortunately in Germany the market's relatively underdeveloped. In the US it's about 30% of mobile phone owners have an iPhone or Droid or something like that, whereas in Germany it's only 14%. But the opportunities, if you look at them, are again mobile search, mobile social. There's so many different things we can start to do when you have internet on your mobile phone. Everything you can do with the PC situation you can do in a mobile, although on a smaller screen. And of course mobile apps are very interesting. You're probably wondering about mobile applications. Is anybody doing mobile applications yet? A few of you? Okay, good. We'll see more of that. This is looking at mobile applications downloaded worldwide. The figure is an astonishing 6.6 billion. How do you measure that? I have no idea how they get these numbers. And then we are creating apps ourselves at eMarketer. We have an app that serves up information to you on things like mobile, right? The key here is that if you are a marketer and you create an app, or you're a publisher and you create an app, you do not want to be thinking just about your brand. You want to be thinking about your consumer's need. You want to be thinking utility. How can I make this application really useful to people, or really fun and engaging, or something that's compelling in and of itself? Not just pushing your product. That's the key. And if we look at in-app advertising, so this is an advertiser advertising on the mobile screen on an application, it's only 612 million. We think that number is too high. It's a very small number no matter how you look at it from a relative proportion. Okay? And let me tell you a personal story, because I'm a runner, and I was preparing for my first half marathon. My favorite app happens to be Runkeeper. This is a great little application that measures how far I go for my training run. It tells me my pace. It tells me the map of where I went, and I can log this over time and see my progress. It's a wonderful application. Well, as I was going out for a big, long 12-mile run to train for my half marathon, I noticed that there was an ad on my application. I'm a runner. What's next? We have to think about who we are talking to. This is called targeting. We need to do a far better job of this. This is a true story. And speaking of targeting, that brings us to another concept, which of course is places. The third reason that mobile is going to be huge is that it allows you as a marketer to understand the place that the person is. So, why are we so excited about this? Let's take a look. Mobile then adds two other dimensions to our marketing. It's not just the right message to the right person, which hopefully we're doing a good job of. It's also in the right location at the right time. So the opportunity here is that what's happening is that consumers are in stores looking at products on the shelves, and they're comparing prices and other products right there in the store. Right? This provides marketers with very, very good opportunities to reach them just when they're at the point of making a decision, with a timely coupon offer or some kind of discount to push them over the edge to make the sale with you right then in the store. All right? But we have to be careful. We all know what happened with email and spam. More and more consumers around the world are going to be opting into your mobile messages. But what happens is we could create a geolocation apocalypse. Let me explain. You're walking in a mall and you've opted into some retailers, and all of a sudden you turn on your phone and you are bombarded with advertising. If we allow this to happen, it is game over for mobile advertising. So we have to be careful, we have to be judicious, and be very, very targeted and make sure that we get permissions for every level of advertising message that we present. And speaking of game over, we're on the last of the four trends, which is that what we're seeing is that the classic interruption-disruption model of advertising is waning. You know, the idea of, we interrupt this program to bring you this ad. It's not going to go away entirely. Paid media, advertising, it's not going away. But what we're going to start seeing is the experiences. As Pepsi CMO says, we need to create experiences, not just sponsored content. Or as I like to say, we need to focus as marketers and publishers on creating content or messaging that acts as a magnet, that is so inherently entertaining, relevant, useful, compelling. I want to pay attention to it. I want to share it with others, right? That it demands the consumer's time and attention. Examples are you've probably seen the Evian roller babies. There was 33 million views on YouTube. Or another one of my favorites, is this app, which you can take your mobile phone and use it as a level. I could go and see if this table is level. Now, I don't know why I would ever want to do that. But I'm sure it's useful for something. You get my point. We want to be, you want to be useful. So what I'm talking about is a paradigm shift, if you will, of advertising approaches. Less about targeting. I'm going after that consumer and I'm going to blast them with ads. That's going to work less and less. It's more about fishing, where you create the right bait, the right video experience, the right mobile application, right? And this is happening all over the world. Big marketers and small marketers alike are starting to create their own compelling content that's going to compete with the publisher's content, right? So let's talk about the publishers for a minute, because I have 2 minutes left. The world's first newspaper was published in 1605 here in Germany. All right? The basic ad model was this. Okay, I don't even know if they had ads like this, but if they did, this is how they would pay for it, right? So this model has been in existence since we can remember. The publisher has a relationship with the consumer because they're presenting this content that the consumer comes, and I love this content, I keep coming back to you for great content. On the side, come over here, advertiser. I want to talk to you. We're going to do a business where you give me money, and I'll let you place your ads in front of the consumer. Isn't that how it works? What's happening, though, as I said, with this magnetic content, is more and more advertisers are going to go straight to the consumer with their own branded content. And that could skip over the top of you, right? So what you need to do is strengthen your relationship with the advertiser and get money from him or her. And you need to do the same thing with the consumer, all based on the trust of your brand, your publishing brand, and the value you create. Would you disagree? David doesn't disagree. We also need to think about diversifying our revenue streams. eMarketer, we're a publisher, we make information, right? We have some traditional advertising, about 10% of our business, 90% is actually businesses pay for our information, okay? That's not going to be for everybody, though. You have to have exceptional, valuable content that people can't get elsewhere. But there are ways that you can start to charge for consumers. We don't have time to get into the details now. But I urge you to think of number 3, which is to sell your marketing services to advertisers. Thinking of the ABCs. What do you as a publisher know better than anybody else? You know audiences. You create content, which is the bait, which we were talking about before. You can create the best content that attracts consumers, and you can provide context. Okay, if we sum it up, you've got audiences. You want to expand your audiences through partnerships with other publishers or with Facebook. You want to be segmenting groups of consumers around like interests or passions, right? That's going to be more valuable to the advertiser. And you want to help advertisers manage all this audience data. All right? With bait, this is the content that you create. You're masters at it. You want to create branded content for advertisers and charge them for that. Meredith Publishing in the U.S. is charging Kraft General Foods, right, big major consumer packaged goods marketer, for creating hundreds of videos that are attractive to consumers and they want to pay attention to them. You can help marketers tell their brand stories and charge them for that. And finally, context. Through social media, you can facilitate sharing and experiences across all the different platforms, mobile, video, etc. You also cannot lose sight of your own authority, of your brand, your voice, your emphasis on things. Your perspective is so important. Do not lose sight of it. All the social media in the world goes away compared to your voice, because you're the ones who are the experts, so you have to pay attention to that. And you can also, by the way, if you get good at it, offer social media consulting services to marketers. So, we're pretty much at the end. I have about negative 30 seconds. I just want to say we can continue the conversation 3 ways. You can contact me by email, and I'm happy to send you the presentation, or Twitter. Or we can have a beer later. I hope we can do that tonight. And finally, my associate Deborah Kim is here if you would like to talk with her. She's sitting right over there. And for that, I want to say, done.
Later on more about this espresso you had this morning. I don't believe that this was espresso.
Great stuff.
I cannot believe it.
We're going to go back and have some more.